Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Alicia and in today's video we will be talking about Charm by Tracy Wolff. As we always do with these book reviews, I am going to read the synopsis and then we are going to get into my thoughts. So, the synopsis for this one says, book sliding around. It says, "He's under my skin. After Katmere, I shouldn't be surprised by anything, including the existence of a world beyond my world called the Shadow Realm. Yet here I am, stuck in a strange, dangerous place with the worst of the supernaturals, the monster that the other monsters fear, Hudson Vega. He might be Jackson's brother and ridiculously hot, but he's a complete bona fide pain in my ass. The question is whether we'll find a way out before I kill him or run out of time. She's stealing my heart. It's a truth universally known, at least according to Grace, that everything is my fault. But I have a nasty suspicion that Grace isn't as human as she thinks, and she's the one keeping us trapped. Now we'll have to work together, not only to survive, but to save all those we've come to call family who live here. Because there's something connecting us, something stronger than fear, and way more bloody dangerous." Okay, so where do we start with talking about Charm by Tracy Wolff? Well, let's start with, this is book 5 in the Crave series, and technically this takes place where book 1, Crave, ends, and book 2, Crush, starts. It's that time in between the two, but this is technically book 5 in the series. Rightfully so. This takes two perspectives to tell the story, and I'm absolutely in love with the way that Tracy Wolff tells this story. She goes and bounces between Grace's perspective, and it may do like Grace, Hudson, or Grace, Hudson, Grace. So there's no like true pattern to it. It's not like you go Grace, Hudson, etc. Or even Hudson, Grace, Hudson. There's no rhyme or reason to it. But I love that as she tells the story, she goes through and continues. So if the chapter is a Grace point of view, then if the next one is a Hudson point of view, it still continues just from the different perspectives. You get me? So, with that in mind, I didn't know what to expect. I knew that things were happening after book 1 ended, because book 1 ended on a cliffhanger, and I was just like, what the what? I wanted to know more. And so I started reading book 2, and book 2 said 4 months after, and I was like, hold on. There's 4 months missing. Where is that 4 months? I need to know what happened and why it happened. This is that 4 months. This big 600-page behemoth is that 4 months. At least we're led to think that it's 4 months. It could be shorter. It could be longer. I'm not going to tell you, because you have to read it for yourself. There's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of banter that goes on in these books, and I absolutely am here for it. This book, I think, out of all the books in the series, is by far my favorite. I like this one because even though the rest of the books in the series, like Crave gives you that introduction to the Crave universe, and Crush and Covet and Court all give you the continuation of that storyline. This gives you so much more. And thinking back on books 2, 3, and 4 after reading this one, there are so many feels, so many emotions, and everything is put into place. All the puzzle pieces, anything that you had questions about, right here. Don't get me wrong, there are still a lot of questions in my head about what happened, because I know that there's one more book coming, so I want to know what happens in that book, and maybe it'll tie up any questions that I have right now. But questions that I had between books 1 and 2 are all answered here. All of them. And now I get why there was so much frustration and so much, like, why are things happening the way that they're happening. There's a lot of banter between Hudson and Grace. There's reasons for it. There's reasons for it. But this one, I absolutely loved it. I won't say too much about what happens throughout the book. There are some, like, mini adventures. Nothing as big as, like, the adventures that they all go on in books 2 through 4. But there are little adventures between Grace and Hudson. We meet a couple of new characters, but they're not necessarily characters that we would see in the rest of the books. Okay, so we have a couple of new people. We, of course, have a villain. There's always a villain, right? It's not necessarily the villain that you expect to see. And there's a lot of purple. There's a lot of purple, y'all. I don't know why there's a lot of purple, but there's a lot of purple. It's interesting to see it. I would love to see this, like, in a TV show or a movie, but I'm here for it. I want to see book 6 and what happens there. I want to see this series turned into a TV series or a movie, something that is visual, because I want to see how Grace and Hudson act on screen. I see how they act in the books, and I am here for it. I love it. As with all of the other books, I rated this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and I have no doubt that I will probably rate book 6 the same way, unless there is something drastically happens in book 6. There's no doubt in my mind that this entire series will just be a 5 out of 5 straight through. But I highly recommend this one. I won't go into too much grave detail. I can tell you that there are some characters that are interesting, but it focuses on Hudson and Grace. I'm here for their banter. I'm here for their love story, if that's what you want to call it. But I am here for it. So I'm excited to see what happens in the next book. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't picked up this series, please check it out. I will tell you that there are the first 4 books. You start with this one, Crave, then Crush, Covet, and Court, and then you go to Crave. This is the exclusive Barnes & Noble edition, so I do have the Dragon Court end pages, but I could not stop there. I do have 2 more copies, and I do have the Witch Court end pages and the Vampire Court end pages. Those are the only ones I could find, but this is the one that I read, so this is the one I will use. But again, loved it, loved the characters, loved the banter, loved their little adventures, rated it 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend that if you haven't picked it up, pick it up and read it. Give it a try. I will say if you did like reading the series Twilight, then you will most likely read this one, but there's a lot more to this one than Twilight. So go pick up a copy and read it. And also don't forget that in January we are starting the Crave Along, so we will be rereading this series starting with book 1, Crave. But there you have it. I won't see. I was trying to stay spoiler free and I did it. So now, tell me if you have read this one, if you have read it or are going to read it, or even if you're going to join the Crave Along starting in January. Let me know that down in the comments too. But check out Crave, 5 out of 5 stars. Well, that's all for me in this video, guys. Again, I highly recommend you read the Crave series. I am loving it and want more. And I hope you will join us for the Crave Along starting in January with the first book, Crave. I will leave links down in the description and more information on that. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you can get a heads up on new content coming. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.